Now we're good. Well, welcome everybody. For those of you that this is your very first call or Zoom call with Zaya Active, welcome. If this is your second or third, that means that you haven't been with us very long, and that's very, very exciting. We are super excited to be able to put out this over the next couple of months, over the summer months, something that we think will help all of our reps to build their business, to start quickly, to get to their goals as soon as possible. And so what we've decided to do is, as we've talked to Sam Higginson, who I'll introduce in a short second, we've thought about, well, what is the best way to do this? How do people become successful? And there are certain things that the most successful reps that we have are doing on a consistent basis. And so we've talked to Sam quite in depth about what we can do to duplicate those activities and get those same activities done over and over and over again, because we know that nobody joined the business not to be successful. If you joined, if you invested, if you did this, it's because you want to do something. It's because you want to be successful in one way or another. And success for each person is different. That's up to you. But we know that there are certain things that we can help you with, and that's why we are here. Again, today, we're very fortunate to have Sam Higginson, who has been in the direct sales industry or whatever you want to call it for a number of years. I've known him for, I think, nearly 15 years. And there are few people that I know that have as much talent and as much information, as much experience in helping other people to build their businesses than Sam. And so we've talked to him. We've talked quite a bit about what we can do as a team to help you guys as new reps, or even if you signed or joined 2 years ago and you're just ready to go at it again. It doesn't matter. We're here to make sure that these summer months, May, June, July, August, are the most successful for you. And without further ado, I'm going to turn the time over to Sam Higginson, because you're not here to listen to me. You're here to listen to him. So, Sam, the time is all yours.
Zach, thank you so much for the kind introduction. I'm excited about this opportunity. And as many of you know, Zach certainly does. This is, the second time. Well, we've really never ended. We started in March of 2019 working together. And I've been coaching many of the top leaders, the top performers. I noticed a couple right off the bat. Johnette, Jordan, shout out, and Lacey Christensen are on the screen that I can see. There's like 36 pages now. Last year, I remember doing a call very similar to this, and Zach, I remember calling after, was so excited. There were 138 people who had joined this first call, and he was so excited about that number. And I think that actually it was 78, and then it went to 130, and we were just overjoyed with the number of people that were jumping onto a call like this. And here we are already talking about having to go the webinar route so that we can control the number of people that are joining these calls. But I am really grateful to be here. As Zach pointed out, over 20 years I've been involved in the channel. I've worked with a lot of really impressive brands and companies. I've been through some really fun momentum bursts or bubbles or whatever you want to call it. I've been through some really cool launches. And Zaya has definitely taken the cake on everything that I've ever seen before. And, there are companies that have been around for decades that are doing billions of dollars in sales, legitimately billions of dollars in annual sales, who absolutely, Zach, I think you need to record, unless you already, oh, you are, there we go. I just saw something pop up and it kind of threw my train of thought. You'll notice that I do bounce around a little bit. Lacey and Johnette both can verify that. But anyhow, listen, I've been around for a while. I've never seen anything quite like what Zaya is doing in 3 years' time. Where they were back in March of 2019 when I first came on board and started doing some consulting and started doing some coaching. It's just been something that I am so proud to be a part of. I'm so proud to be here, say that I'm a part of this in some way, to continue to help as where I can, help as much as I possibly can. I'm a third-party set of eyes as well. So I'm not hired by the company. I do some consulting contracts from time to time, but I'm not hired by the company. I'm not an employee of the company. I have my own business. I have my own coaching platform. I work with many leaders throughout the industry. And a big reason for that is that I like to understand where I'm at. I like to understand where the channel is at. I like to understand, hey, are there things out there that I should be implementing with some of my clientele? Are there things that, I need to be avoiding my clientele or helping my clientele avoid. So here's the deal. As Zach mentioned, I live here just south of Salt Lake City, south of the home office. I am today wearing a brand new shirt. It's the men's white everywhere. I hope that it's launched already. Sometimes Zach will give me things to test out and they're not launched. And then I kind of let the cat out of the bag, but I love this shirt. It's awesome. There's just a hint. It says it's white, but there's a hint of green. Is that normal? I hold it up and okay, good. I didn't know that, but I've loved it. So thank you for sharing that with me. But here's the thing that we're going to be doing. Zach asked me, as many of you know, the company is going through unbelievable growth, growth that we were not able to forecast. Many of my clients that I'm working with, we started in January this year with what we call an annual operating plan, with the idea that we could better forecast where they would be in terms of size of business and type of responsibility and burden that come with that. Not necessarily burden, but the responsibilities that come with a larger team. And also, as part of that, we built in what their income could maybe be expected. Now, we don't, those are things that I can do one-on-one. Those are things that we don't do as a company, talking necessarily about, what kind of incomes. But when I'm going one-on-one with a client, we do talk about where we can forecast to see things and where we might be at a particular period of time. And this year, all of my clients, every single one of them here at Zaya has exceeded that already. We are now redoing our entire AOP plan, looking to December and making the adjustments because they already all achieved their goal. And so as a result of that, though, it brings on some pressure, right? You guys have experienced some of the inventory pressure. You've experienced all of a sudden 15,000 extra people trying to log on at the same time in a company that, by the way, one of the major factors, the things that a lot of these other billion-dollar brands, some of the CEOs and marketing executives, and I sit on a board of directors every month. We have a call. We found ourselves talking more and more about Zaya. This is a board of directors, by the way, that has about 15 members, men and women all across the world, that are leaders, executiveship leaders within companies that have been around, in most cases, 30 plus years, doing multiple billions of dollars of sales, and they keep coming back to Zaya. One of the reasons why is that Zaya has the ability to capture its entire field force every single week. Most of these companies are lucky if they're able to capture their field force 3 times in a year. We're doing it every Wednesday, and now sometimes on Mondays and sometimes on Fridays, and we have a chance to really capture the people, and that's one of the things that really stands out. But I want to get into some of the content here in a minute, but I want to also lay out the expectations of what you can expect for you and your teams, because we want to invite everybody. We want everybody to come in and hear the information, because there's been 3 years of data. I've been pouring myself and totally committed myself to pouring through the data since last March, really trying to understand where the company is at. And Zach, just step in. Correct me in any case that I'm wrong. I don't think I am. I think I have them correct in front of me. But when you're talking numbers, you always want to make sure that you put it out there that, hey, we did our best to interpret what I found. So what we are going to be doing is there's going to be at least 4 calls of 30 to 40 minutes. Every Monday, we're going to break in, we're going to dive in, we're going to get really into the content, okay? It'll be a lot less like this. It'll just be content for about 30 or 40 minutes, exactly what you're going to be doing. We're going to be really challenging you with activities and all kinds of other things for you to really challenge yourself to be successful that week. We are then going to finish this thing off with something that I'm super excited about and something I'm not sure that we've done yet, but it's a Super Saturday training event. There are going to be some unbelievable special guest speakers that join us for that call to help us understand some of the basic principles of being successful. And it'll be a recap of everything that you're learning here. Now, I do think that they're going to charge for that particular event. And the reason why is that we are going to have this thing be a big part of it is going to be cause driven. Now, that is not confirmed. Zach, we have not been through some of those details, but we have a lot of causes and things that we are passionate about here at Zaya, or they're passionate about here at Zaya as well. And we want to make sure that we can find ways to support them throughout the course of the year. So that will be a 9 to 12 Saturday event. Some people call it a super Saturday. I call it a half day Saturday training that is just going to be off the charts, a recap of everything that we're doing today. I've seen throughout my career, 20 plus years, I've seen some really incredible success stories coming from those events. So invite your teams, make sure they get the details, and we will have those details out to you in the first week of June. Unless there is something else that stands in the way, it'll probably be that first June in Saturday. I and Zach will confirm those dates and have them to you no later than probably by late this week. Why is Zaya so focused on this particular piece of business? Why are we so focused on really getting down to the nitty-gritty and to the simplification of what needs to happen in order for this company to find the success that it is destined to find? I mean, this is one of those brands that is destined for success. You see what's happening right now, the trajectories, every single KPI that a corporate team looks at, which is, by the way, a little bit different than maybe what you in the field look at. But all of those key performing indicators that we see tells us, hey, you better be ready. You better get those tech platforms tightened down. You better get those inventories bolstered. You better get those programs, incentives, training, coachings really dialed in, because there's a significant amount of growth that is upon us, and we want every one of you to be prepared for that. And most importantly, we want you all to participate. Because this business, as we all know, is the great equalizer. It's the great equalizer. Every single one of you, we're starting at ground zero right now. We all have an equal opportunity to do something special here. And so that's what we want you to believe first and foremost. We want you to understand that. And if you participate, you'll actually become a believer of that ideology. So there's two things that could have happened in mid-March. I won't forget the conversations forever and ever. In fact, one day I will use them, as I've journaled them pretty well. I'm a pretty good journal keeper when it comes to my business calls. And one of the things that I found in our conversations with Zach and with Jeremiah was, okay, so what's going to happen? COVID-19, it's changing the game. Can you guys ship? I mean, you're going through the biggest growth phase. My clients are having more fun than they've ever had before. Can we keep up on this? And they were very optimistic. They were very, but also like the rest of the world in leadership positions, they didn't know for sure what next week would come. And so a couple of things could happen at that period of time. You either crumble or you thrive, right? We knew that. We've seen that in every other situation that was considered a crisis mode. I think I read somewhere the other day, the actual definition of a crisis is something really bad, but also something really good that comes of that crisis. And so we know that you're either going to crumble or you're going to thrive. And, that does not, take away the fact that we are, as a company, constantly sorrowful for the things that are going on out in the world right now. But we just happen to have a place that people found a community. They found community. They found that, that we were worried in mid-March. Can we have virtual events? Are people going to show up to virtual events? And what we found was that we hosted more events than ever before in the month of March. And more people attended those events than ever before in the month of March. We then thought, okay, well, definitely in April, there's going to have to be a scale back, right? There's going to have to be something where we also see that. And we saw more parties hosted in April than we did in March, so set another record. And again, we saw more people attend those events in the month of April than we did in March. So again, we set another record. And this is a period of time where, of course, we are in the marketplace. We happen to sell the outfit of the world right now. If you look around, just anybody that's taking a walk in front of your house or in the grocery stores or at the park or just laying around in your house right now, we're all wearing Zaya in this home. Today, my entire family is in a Zaya outfit. And that's, that's just what we're wearing. And we have wore those outfits. We wore them regularly anyway, but we wear them all the time now. So it's kind of interesting to see that we had that marketplace as well. So we found that we had a product that people really loved. And then most importantly, we had a community that people really needed. They really needed us. They needed somebody, they needed these faces to be able to come on and chat and just, everybody was going through the same thing. It was, again, the great equalizer, right? We had a place that we could come on and talk about it. So The company is very focused on this particular piece because they want you to be prepared. This is where we're going through some of the biggest growth phases the company has ever experienced. We expect a completely different summer, by the way, right? We normally in the channel of direct sales, and in actually quite often a lot of businesses, retail businesses, they have their bounces in the spring and then they have that other bounce in the holiday season at the end of the year, right? If you've ever worked for the Gap or Banana Republic or any of these types of businesses, that's what they expect. They know exactly where their revenues are going to be coming. They hire their employees based on those periods of time. That's just the way it is. Like 70% of revenue is made from the 20th of November to the 31st of December in a lot of retail businesses. And so being prepared, looking at that, we're saying, okay, well, normally in direct sales, we have a pretty solid a pretty solid spring. You come out of that winter thaw, people are getting over Christmas, things like they want to get back into their businesses. They're kind of excited about the spring. And so we have kind of a decent spring. And then the next flow, we go down through this kind of ebb during the months of June, July, and August. Those are simply just kind of slower periods. They are choices. We don't have to be that way, but that's just the way the world kind of ticks. 2 + 2 = 4. It makes sense, right? But I don't know exactly how all of that stuff came to be, but I trust it, right? And that's just the way it's been here in direct sales. So then you go into the fall months, and you typically have conventions and things of that nature. There's always kids go back to school. Parents are ready to rock and roll. They can't wait to do something different. They can't wait to get back some of those hours that they've been missing out on. And so the fall typically goes really well. Well, here's my anticipation. Along with this board of directors that I sit on, the conversations that we're having, along with the conversations that I'm having with highly respected people like Zach and Jeremiah Bradley, Aaron and Brenda, who understand their business better than anybody, who I personally fit into the category of some of the generational greats in this particular channel, people that I absolutely believe in because they get it, they get the channel very well. When we're talking, this is going to be the most unusual summer in the history of the channel of direct sales, without a doubt. There's no question that that's going to happen, and here's a couple of reasons why. Disneyland's closed. We don't have normal vacations that are going to be being planned. This is the normal that we're all used to. Kids are home. We've been dealing with this since the middle of March. We stay in our homes more often. We're not getting out, even when things open back up, we're not just going out there gangbusters and doing things that we were normally used to doing. Screen changed on me, threw me off a little bit, but now I'm back. So it's going to be an unusual summer. And so what I anticipate to happen are that we are going to see an influx of conversations. We are going to see an influx of parties. We are going to see an influx of people becoming customers. And we know based on data, which I'm about to get to, is really, really good for this brand, really good for this company. So the bottom line is this. We have this kind of, and this is, by the way, I don't want to take anything away from the pain and suffering that we are currently facing with, but I also want to address the reality of where we're at today and where we are as a company and a community and what we can do to bring better to this world. And so it is kind of, for that regard, a bit of our perfect storm. We're going to do the activities and the things that are required to be successful in this company and to be successful in this type of a business. All of those things are kind of sitting in front of us over the course of the next 4 or 5 months. And we can either sit back and be bored and fall deeper and deeper into a hole of what's going to happen with my life and world or whatever, or I can participate and find that encouragement and find all of these faces, 40 pages, a maxed out Zoom call that are actually rooting for me to be successful. Every one of you out there are rooting for each other to be successful. Show me another industry, show me another business, show me another place, sales organization that thinks different or that thinks the same that we do. They might talk about it. They might even have culture days and bring in huge special guest speakers, read books, do book clubs, and talk about it all the time. But the only true place that it lives and resides is a company like this. Now, the 4 pillars, as a third party, outside looking in, I see this. I see technology, I see product, I see business model, and I see community. Those are the 4 pillars that hold up this incredible brand that Aaron Bradley founded on a hike one evening. And it's, you know, in some ways we're being attacked on 3 of those fronts, right? We have no doubt about that. The business model is being attacked because you look around the channel, go look at the publicly held companies on the stock market and see what they're doing. You go look around and talk to some of your friends that may be involved in one of these businesses, and you find out that this is actually a pretty good time to be a part of our company, part of our business. And so as the world turns, there's got to be an antagonist. There's got to be something that tries to pull us down, right? And will attack a little bit like that. Some of those are, you know, government agencies. And so we won't get into all that, but you know what I'm talking about. So here's the reality. Product is going to be stressed just a little bit for a period of time, short period of time, but it will be stressed for a little bit of time because we added, I don't know, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 12 to 20,000. I know that's a big range, but I think it's somewhere in that range based on my numbers. It's somewhere in there. It's a lot of new people buying product every week. You have, and that happened in March too. And so you add all that up already in a growth cycle, and you add that kind of exponential growth, and you know it's going to challenge that. The technology platform, same thing. You know, you're overloading a technology platform. Expect some of those things to happen. It's okay. I'll promise you this: there will be a day down the road, far in the future, where you will miss these moments. You will miss the moments like these like crazy, when it was so exciting for a brand new person coming in that you literally had to have a conversation with them to say, hey, when you do your launch, it's going to be a little bit different than when I did my launch. And it will be a little bit different than, you know, 2 or 3 months down the road when you're signing that new rep. They might have it a little bit easier. This is going to be a challenging and particularly tougher period of time in that regard. But we're going to have some fun with it because you're here now. You're here in that really important period of time, one that we'll look back upon and be super grateful that we're here for. So why is it that we're talking about all of this stuff? Is one, we want to create and establish those expectations. I want you to understand them clearly. Remember that this is that period of time that we are all extremely excited about. This is a period of time that we can't wait to kind of go through these next 5 or 6 months, but we don't want to hurry up and get them over with either. They're not months that any one of us should want to hurry up and get them over with. I liken it to when my kids were seniors in high schools. I've had 2 graduate, both highly active in their sports and their community, you know, in their schools, extracurriculars and things of that nature. And I remember that senior year, that terrible feeling in my stomach, like, oh, it's about to be over with. And then, you know, every day it was like, oh man, it's almost over with. Like and it was almost like I was hurrying up to waiting for it to get done instead of just trying to live presently and enjoy it and really dive in. And so today I rolled up my sleeves on purpose because this is what it's going to require. It's going to require us to work harder than we've ever worked before. It's going to have to require you to be more creative than you've ever worked before. And so let me share with you some data that I hope will motivate and inspire you to want to work harder than you've ever worked before. Okay, here's what I found. In every company, you know, I want to tell you the how, but I think we have to talk about the why. Because we're going to, by the way, we have 4 calls. There's a lot of information to go through. There's going to be a lot of tactical talk here. But I think it's important for us to set up why we're going to be addressing and coaching and encouraging and creating programs and incentives and recognition platforms around a particular set of things. By the way, I want to talk to Zach too. One of the things we're going to hope to do is let people earn the right to be a part of our super training that we have in the month of June. I think it'll be a lot of fun, Zach. I want to talk to you about a couple of ideas there. So I think it's really important. But of all the leaders that I've coached throughout Zaya, one thing that we can certainly, that's a guarantee, is we talk a lot about data. We talked a lot about their teams every single month, where they were at. We talked about all of the same KPIs, or those key performing indicators, that we know no matter, I don't care which company I'm with, if I went in to talk to their executive leadership team, I would talk about a certain group of numbers, things like enrollment, team enrollment, title advancement, rank advancement, personal volume, team group volume, title achievement and or program achievement, customer conversion rate, customer to rep conversion rate. All of those things would be key performing indicators that we would look back, that I promise you, Zach and his team, when they sit down and look at all of those things, they can categorize their people in terms of title, right, inside the company. They can say, oh, well, you know, and I'll use Lacey as an example because she's on my page. She was on the page that I was on. But if they look at what she's done, they know they can put her in a category and that, oh, that's why she's that title. She does really well in all of those key performing indicators, right? She has programs in place to drive her teams to achieve at those higher levels. And so that is why these things are really important. We look at key performing indicators or KPIs. So as I was looking at that data, what I was really mostly interested in is I wanted to know what the drivers behind the KPIs were or are. What was really behind all of those KPIs? Was there one thing that we found within those KPIs? And oh, by the way, like parties and achievements, small team achievements, those were part of the KPIs as well. I didn't add those in, but the total number of parties. So I wanted to know of all the KPIs, which one or several were the drivers that helped make sure that those other ones were supported every single day. And so what I found was this. We started doing a bunch of research, and at the first of this year, the research was focused on this. One, we already knew that over 70% of the people who were reps in this company were customers first. They were buying leggings, they were buying jackets, they were buying everything that you guys sell and really loving it. And so over 70% of those people, and that number might have even climbed. When really good brands, that's something that you look for, by the way. If I came in here and Zach told me in the early days that it was the opposite, that about 30% of their people, their revenue was customers and the rest of it was enrollment. And we see that, by the way, there's companies out there, there's new companies out there that are trying to do this. They have about 30% of their revenue that's customer based and about 70% by new enrollment. Major red flag. Just FYI, that's not a long-term, long-last. That's a flash in the pan. Might have success for 18 or so months, but those companies don't exist. Those companies don't survive. The companies that do extremely well are companies that believe in their brand. They believe in Zaya and what it stands for, the product line, the technology, the community, all those things. And so when you find a number that over 70% of the volume or the revenue on a monthly business or monthly basis is driven by customers, that's exciting. That is even way higher than that, but 70% of the current reps were first customers. That's something that really intrigued me. And then so we started looking even deeper, right? What was it about those? And we also found that every company, and when I do research, and this is my style, I like to know what is the golden title. You know, it might be manager at this company, director at this company. It might be senior rep or junior rep or whatever it is at all these different companies. I'm always trying to find what is the one title that when people get to that title, they seem to stick. They seem to have better lifetime values to the company and to their uplines, to their leaders, all of those things. I want to know what helps people stay and have the type of experience that Aaron Bradley really wants them to have, right? One of community, one of personal growth, one of enjoying the product that they're wearing. So we want to find the title that keeps those people as long as we possibly can keep them. And so when I started looking at it, I mean, I went through all of the numbers, and at first, you know, you're thinking director, but again, I'm talking to top leaders. I'm talking to these double Zayas and these Zaya executives. And so what is really important to them are directors, right? They need directors to advance. And then you start thinking about, okay, well, what supports a director? And when we really got down to this, we found out that it was senior rep. For me, 100% across the board, the golden title was senior rep. Now, Zach might disagree with me. I don't know for sure. I don't think he does. But the truth is, senior rep is such an important title in the grand scheme of things here in this company, because we found that over like 38% of the people who ever achieved the title of senior rep went on to, at some point in their career so far, and hit as a director in this business. which, as all of you directors know, when you get there, you know it. I've done something really special. I've created something really special. And so it's that first thing that once you get there, you know you can do this thing in a big way. But in order to get there, you've got to be a junior rep and you've got to be a senior rep. And so the part that was the big kicker for me was this. I found that, and I've only got 6 minutes, so I'm getting to the point, I promise. But I found that 70%, over 70% of those same people who hit senior rep within their first 90 days, 60 to 90 days, or month 0 through month 2, through the end of month 2, which is basically 90 days in some cases, those people that hit senior rep in that period of time, over 70% of those same people hit director within their first 12 months in the business. So if when you're setting goals, and I'm going to encourage you here in a minute to set those goals, it's important that you don't just jump right over those other titles, that you understand what's required to get to each one of those things. So I was obsessed with the data, right? I was obsessed with this data. I loved this data. I knew that this data was going to be a game changer for our business. I knew that it was going to be something that allowed for us to do things in a really special way. But then I said, okay, I have to reverse engineer all of this. I have to find out what it is that really supports that type of growth. And so over the next 4 weeks, we're going to go into specifically thing by thing that we believe will really help you understand and have exactly what you need in order to be as successful as you want to be. But I'm going to tell you what those 3 things are right now, and then we'll dive into them a little bit more over the course of the next 3 calls, and we will wrap it up not only with additional information, but with some really cool stories from people inside the channel who've done extremely well inside of this company, who have employed these very things to find success in their business. But again, going back to that reverse engineering, all of those key KPIs, those drivers, that senior rep, that golden title, that was important to me. But it really, how do we even simplify further than that, right? How do we even go further than that? And really what it came down to was we started studying the total number of parties. And we found in every single case a Zaya rep who held more parties in the month of April than they held in March had an increase in every single KPI that we even looked at. If you held more parties, that meant that you were having more conversations. You usually had to host the parties or have hosting parties going on inside the team. You grew in almost every KPI. Again, it goes back to who we are. We're a prestige activewear brand first and foremost. Hosting parties is how we share our brand. That's how we create our awareness. That's how we drive awareness for our business. And I will finish with one other thing here in a minute that I think is important. I'll try to remember that. It's just an addition, but it just kind of came in. I hope it will help you understand this. But it was a total number of parties that drove those KPIs, and it didn't really matter how big or small your team was. So I took the very largest of organizations, and I took some of the smaller, the brand new execs that were just hitting executive for the first time. I looked at their organizations, and I found the exact same thing. It didn't matter where you were at in your business. If you were hosting more parties, you found growth in every one of those KPIs. And what those KPIs, growth in those KPIs usually suggests is that you get a raise. You do get paid a little bit more in most cases. And so it's a way to build your business. And so what did you have to really do to host a party? And by the way, the other thing was, what I was trying to do is, what could every single person that joins our business actually do? What can every one of you do? You can host a party. You can host a party within the next 10 days. We know that. And that one, by the way, that is our first goal today. Every one of you, I'm going to ask every single one of you to book and host a party by May 20th. And so next call, we're going to actually talk.
This is all sorority, except for living in the house, everything needed.
I think somebody needs to mute. So we go down some, anyhow. So I was looking at this, and really, what does it come down to hosting a party? You've got to learn to invite. You've got to be really good at inviting, right? It's important that we draft that 30-second statement about our why and our purpose of why we jumped in and said, hey, I believe in Aaron Bradley and I'm going to do this thing. I believe in our mission. I believe in this community. I'm doing this thing. So we need to understand that. That's the first and most important thing we do. But the second thing we need to do is learn to invite, right? You've got to invite. And that means making that list. It means connecting with your upline and someone you trust in this business to find out, what does that even look like? How do I do that? There are so many great pieces of information out there to share that with you. The third thing, or the second thing is, first thing is invite, and that's making that list. It's doing those reach outs. It's actually practicing some of the inviting language skills that you're typing, that you're saying. However you're doing those reach outs, however you're doing those invites, going through some of that language is going to be really important. Number two, hosting the event, actually hosting the event. What are the best practices that we need to have in hosting a virtual event? What does the backdrop look like? It's certainly not mine and Zach's, I don't think. I mean, it's not bad, but I've got a little bit of a lantern over here and a couple of things, but what's the backdrop look like? What kind of lighting do you have? What kind of energy do you bring to that party? So best practices in actually hosting those parties, doing them within the policies and procedures, that's critically important, right? We want to protect everybody's legacy. So understanding those policies and procedures, what does a good quality within the rules party look like? And then third, and here's where the gold comes, and circle this one 10 times. And I'm telling you, go back to it multiple times. Learn to be a great follow-upper. Learn to follow up. That's where all the gold resides in our business. Think about it. For those of you that are at least director and above, think about this. How many people, the fortune is in the follow-up. Thank you. That's even better. It sounds way better. Fortune's in the follow-up. How many of you directors and above, though, have went back and really found some of your key leaders, some of the key drivers in your business through 6 or 7 follow-up points, right? Imagine what happened in March and where we are at today even. How many people, if we just followed up with, might have a different life experience right now? They might be searching for something. They might be in need of a community, in need of a new wardrobe, in need of a business opportunity. This is where we're at, right? So it's invite, it's host, and it's follow up. It's the most simple way we can look at this thing. It's the easiest thing that I believe everyone can do. Again, the great equalizer, this is where we start. So we're going to make a commitment to everyone on this call. We're going to make a challenge to everyone on this call to host or to invite, to host, and to follow up between now and the next 10 days. At least one party. I'm just going to ask for one. For those of you that have been in for a while, you know that you can host more than that, and you should, because this is the time to do it, to build that foundation, to build that base. But if you're brand new, I'm going to ask you to host one, okay? And we can do this thing. We can do this thing together. There's a whole 990 people or something on this call that are supportive, that will help. You can reach upline, you can reach sideline, you can reach downline and find people who are willing to help. And I will close it with this because I can't wait to dive into some of these key points and how you might maximize these in the upcoming calls. But I had a piece of mindset last week. I'm part of a platform called A Bit of Better. It's a free platform. It's all about mindset. It's all about personal development. And a friend of mine, Buck McMurray, and I started this program called A Bit of Better. It's a public Facebook page. You're welcome to join it, anyone and everyone. And each week we interview people that just, have done something special. They've done something elite. I think you guys are going to love. In a couple of weeks in a couple of months we'll have a special guest that has a lot of Zaya connection. And so I think you'll love to hear from this and be a part of it. But we had a gentleman by the name of Captain Eddie Rohrbach on our call last week. And I asked him a question in that interview. Ed, if you were to launch a business, by the way, Ed is an active duty Navy SEAL. He's been an active duty Navy SEAL for 23 years, almost going on 23 years. Just an absolute star. He served on the very elite groups within the Navy SEALs. And it's his job to go out and do calls like this with media or other platforms to basically say, these are some of the things that you should be doing or thinking about. But Ed told me if he were to launch a business today, it'd be really simple for him, he thinks, right? He's only known military service for 23 years, but he said this. The Facebook page is called A Bit of Better. So I hope everybody got that. Maybe Zach could type that or somebody. Anyhow, I asked him, what would you do? And he said, well, Sam, when we jump out of airplanes, which we do regularly, that's a weekly training thing that they do. They go and jump out of airplanes. They try to do it in some of the hardest and harshest of conditions, weather, everything, so that they can practice and become really good. And it's something that they do over and over again, as well as many other things that they do in their business, but they practice a lot of jumping out of airplanes. And he said, the first thing you have to do when you jump out of an airplane, the thing they train all the young people, is you actually have to jump. You have to make that leap of faith. You have to trust the guys around you. You have to trust the people around you. You have to trust that the men and women on the ground who are helping you are going to be there to help you. And you have to make the decision to jump. The second thing you do when you jump out of that airplane is you have to become stable. You have to start to breathe. If I were to launch a business, no matter what it would be, I would, one, jump. I would make that leap. I would kind of leap off and say, hey, there's no other alternative than for me to kick in the other things that I've been training for. And the first thing would be to stabilize. I've got to start breathing. I've got to flatten out and start floating down through the sky. I've got to make sure that I am in a place of some control. That's where you're starting to reach to get some help, right? You're starting to breathe. Okay, I did this thing. I can't believe I'm now a Zaya rep, but this is going to be fun. You're stabilizing. Then you need to become aware of who's around you. So he says the third thing that you do after you've jumped and become stable is you have to become aware. You have to really understand all of the people around you. Make sure you understand where all those supporting arms are. Make sure that you are in safety, right? You're keeping yourself safe. You're standing up for what it is that you believe in, and you're being yourself, but you're aware of everything. Then you orient, right? This is where we set our goal. So I think this is exactly where all of you are at right now. We are at the orient part. We know where we want to be at the end of May. We've got 21 days or 20 days left from today. We know exactly where we want to be at the end of May, and we need to find that. We need to orient, find our target right now. Then we need to adjust. We need to check for our altitude. A quick altitude check. Okay, we're 11 days into the month. We know our goal is. We're completely oriented. We know who's around us. We've completely stabilized. It's now time to go and hit that target. We know what we have to do, and that's when you pull the chute, right? Once you pull that chute, things slow down a little bit. You're able to, okay, I need to really write that list down. I really need to reach out. I really need to host these events. I really need to follow up with these people, and there is a system in place for you to do that. But the thing I found from Ed that was so interesting is I said, Ed, so that's it? You jump, stabilize, become aware, orient, find your altitude, that's it? That's how you jump out of a plane? I could do that, And he said, well, we do that, and then we do it again. As soon as we pull the chute, we start over, we repeat those steps. And when we land on the ground, we repeat those steps. And we're constantly repeating those steps. We ingrain it into what we do. It's continuity. We need to make sure that everybody around us is doing the same things too. We need to make sure that everybody is equal. Everybody has a fair shake and the support and opportunities that they need. So today we went long, 47 minutes. I am going to wrap up by saying this. In my 23 years, surrounded by some multi-billion-dollar multinational companies, never before have I ever come in contact with a company that has more potential, more opportunity to build a brand of prestige active wear than this particular company. Zaya is backed by really good people. It's led by really good people. And I have never come across a more talented field base. It's the one thing, I came from a company that was a billion-dollar brand that did really, really well. And I was always intrigued. I thought their brand was cool. I thought their product was okay and cool. I used it. It was skincare, so I'm a guy, so I kind of used it. I used body cream on my face, things like that. I didn't know all the steps of how to do everything, but I thought it was cool. But the thing that always jumped out at me was the talent in the field. And I came to Zaya and really kicked the tires in Dallas in March 2019. Got to meet a few of the people, and then I started coaching. And I was blown away by the talent that this company has acquired, that this company is attracting every single day. I want to just tell you this too in closing. I believe it's during these times of crisis where we will find some of the most impressive and some of the most focused people that we will find so far in our company. And that is no disrespect to anybody out there. They're all thrilled and grateful for that opportunity. Trust me, they're beyond thrilled that that's potential for them. And they're all great. And they have chopped those, roads down through the jungles of this business. And in some ways, they own the tolls to those roads. And I'm grateful for that. But I'm excited and very excited about the people that are joining this business from March and all the way through the end of this summer. I think you're going to find a special group of people. And my encouragement to you is to be one of those people. Be one of them. We're all on equal footing here. We're all in the same game. We're all rooting for each other. Be one of those people. Don't wait around for it. Be that person today. And I'll tell you, if you just give yourself full 90 days of consistent inviting, of consistent hosting, of consistent following up, and then just kind of do some math, your start to finish, your before and after, I guess, if you will, of your screenshot of your back office. Just do some math and see where you're at. If you're finding challenges still at that point, or if you haven't found any type of support, reach out to me, give me a call, and I'll work with you. I want to make sure that there's some steps that weren't being missed. But with that, Zach, my goal, my challenge to the team, the call to action right now, because of the data that we know, is simply this. If you host parties and have those conversations, we have a chance to grow. It's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee, but we have a chance to grow and do it in a way that we haven't done before. If that is our focus, if that is our goal and our team goal, we're simply just going to host more parties. The simplest of tasks. If we do a lot of that, we can potentially be really successful. And again, I think this is going to be a unique summer. And I think we're going to see probably the height of what our business has to offer in September, October, November, and setting us up for a killer 2021. Hopefully virus-free all the way through it, and that we're all healthy and happy. And with that, I love that. Put a party on it. Let's do it. Let's put a party on it, guys. Next 10 days, put a party on it. I guess just to say gals. There is one guy, Christina, her husband's boyfriend, somebody sitting by her. So shout out to him.
Oh, there's a few guys out there. I can see it. There's
awesome.
a number of them.
Awesome. Well, I can only see one page. And so with that, Zach, thank you for having me. I can't wait for the next 3 weeks. We have so much good information to share, and it's all tried and true with data to back every piece of it up. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Sam. And again, so much of this, for those of you, I've loved seeing all these comments, because there's so many people. I joined last night. I joined 2 days ago. I joined last week. I joined last month. So many new people. This first call, just so everybody's kind of aware, is kind of an introductory. Sam didn't go into the meat. Sam didn't go in the meat and potatoes of what we're going to actually talk about. That's what's going to be coming up next Monday, the Monday after that, where we really dive into what we're going to be doing and how you guys can be successful. Before we get to that, so much of it is, if you joined yesterday, we want you to know who we are. We want you to know a little bit more about what's going on right now. Inventory levels, we're growing so much, and all these different things, which we think that information is pertinent. But again, going into next week, if you have somebody that you sign up this week, get them, make sure they're on next week's call. Make sure they listen to this week's call. It's going to be recorded. But these next 4 weeks, we are going to do everything we possibly can to help you guys. That's what Sam does. We love him. We appreciate him. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this first hour. Next week, we'll keep it under 30 minutes. We just wanted to make sure we could get as much as we could out there. I told Sam, he said, how much time can I take? And I said, take as much as you want. But we usually, and which is exactly what we want. We will, we'll keep it 30 to 40 minutes. And we do appreciate you guys. We love you guys. And we'll see you guys next Monday. Have a great week, everybody. Talk to you soon. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it.